See, the point is that they had to accept something because this is the start point. Because as far as the Pakistan side was concerned, they gave the briefing within 48 hours to the international media. And after that, the entire international media knew what's going on. The Americans knew what is going on. Chinese knew what is going on. See, this is not the age of commercial satellites, what CDS said, that we'll have the commercial side. This is the age of real time intelligence by satellites. And the Chinese have those capabilities. So, what went down is known to everybody except our own people. So, at some stage, for the credibility of India, they had to accept something. So, he accepted that. Now, obviously, it's a narrative which is not helpful for the image of the government. But the point here is that the government should have, first of all, thought about it, that this disproportionate response, is it helping us? Now, this is important. On the one hand, it was disproportionate response, and on the other hand, if the political objective was to end the proxy war of Pakistan, I don't think that has been accomplished. If the military aim was to create a deterrence against the Pakistan military, it has not been accomplished. And the most important thing is, we earlier also used the air power, which was in 2019 Balakot air attacks. Then also the limitations of our Air Force were exposed. Now they are further exposed. So what are we getting out of it? Only the government knows that. What is going on is, in my assessment, that when the Prime Minister came to power in May of 2014, that is the time the Air Force chief was with the name of Air Chief Marshal Arup Raha. And since then, the Air Force has been seeking a sub-conventional role for the Air Force. You see, that you also want to, because the Army is doing a sub-conventional role. So, starting from Arup Raha, all the Air Force chiefs have been wanting a sub-conventional role, that Air Force should be used in this role, which is wrong. Because we are talking of a modern war here. On the other hand, we did not understand a very simple thing, that right from 5th August 2019, when we revoked 370 and 35A from Jammu and Kashmir, Chinese leadership has been consistently saying at all the levels that we will support Pakistan's sovereignty and security. What that means is that the two militaries, the PLA and the Pakistan military, had actually started intensive exercises, which is joint exercises against a very clear enemy. So what is going on is that we did not understand all that. We wanted a role at the lower end. Now, all these things, when you want to fight a modern war, it is not about only weapon systems. It is also about optimizing the weapon system, that is called war concept. And it is also about years of training. It doesn't happen in a jiffy that today you say, okay, I'm buying Rafales, so I become powerful. No, you don't. It is not only Rafales, how do you use the Rafales? How do you use the Rafales with the other systems? And what sort of training you have done? What sort of understanding you have of electronic warfare? You see, these things are important. We saw in Balakot very clearly that the Pakistan Air Force displayed better electronic warfare capabilities. So we should have understood that in a modern war, electronic warfare is very important. Because if you can jam the enemy's communication, there is trouble. How do you do the operation if the communication are jammed? I mean, we faced it in 2019, which is why our pilot, our squadron leader, he was made prisoner of war. So we should have learned that lesson. Instead, the Indian Air Force leadership is saying that we should have a role in counter-terror operations, sub-conventional operations. And see, on top of that, you listen to the present Air Force chief. I actually sympathize with him, Air Chief Marshal AP Singh. He said openly that, look, the DRDO and the HAL, they have not met any of the timelines. Now, on the one hand, you want to do Atmanirbharta at a time when there is a big crisis at hand. He was expressing his helplessness at his reduced combat capabilities, his squadrons. You see, even if the private players come, nothing will happen, in a day or 2 days. It takes time. All right. he has a problem. His problem was very simple. He understands that Pakistan Air Force is strengthening. He understands that perhaps even the Chinese will come and help the Pakistanis, though we saw in this operation that they actually came whole hog. The Chinese have come whole hog in support of Pakistan. So that was the eye opener for us. I don't know how many eyes have opened here after seeing that. So the point the air chief was making is that my strength, combat strength, whatever my authorized strength was, about 42.5 squadrons, it has come down drastically. He was simply stating a fact. What do I do if you guys can't give me the indigenous stuff? Something needs to be done. And that is the appeal that he was making. After seeing this operation, it is time for our security planners and our defense services to start worrying. I am not talking about the political leadership, whether they want to celebrate, don't want to celebrate. That's a different subject altogether because you can always build a narrative. You see, building a narrative is not a great thing. I mean, it's not a difficult thing. You can always build a narrative for the people who are willing to hear, in any case, who are willing to believe you. But the key thing is that the security planners, there are far too many lessons, far too many limitations. There is no doubt about it that at this stage, it will be very difficult, rather impossible is the word I would like to use, that in a modern war, if let's say there is a war, God forbid, in let's say 12 months' time, then there is no way you can take on the combine of China and Pakistan, even if China is not showing the hand. China, please understand, today is at the cutting edge of modern warfare. How do you take on these two? And all that became very clear. And then on top of that, the government has created, the Prime Minister himself has created a new normal. And a new normal is extremely dangerous